Our dearest, beloved, divine friends, family, brothers and sisters in Guyana, around the world, your friend, your brother Mihaji, Dr. Ocean Khan, on In the Raw, another in the series of In the Raw, RKE's Guyana Free Media. Thursday, December 22nd, 2020, the Kaieteur News. I'm always worried, and the topic that I want to deal with today here is Exxon flaring this year equivalent to the removal of 1.6 million acres of our forest. So friends and families, I want to talk to you about the forests. All the problems that we have on the earth that has to do with hurricane and thunderstorms, pollution of our waterways, shortages of water, is due to the destruction of our forests. Not only Guyana, Guyana is the only final lungs of the earth, my beloved divine friends and families. All the lungs in Africa and everywhere else in Australia have been decimated by man's constant greed, his insatiable appetite, his gluttony, forgetting that the earth is like a mother. And if you beat and you kill a mother, then you destroy civilization. For without mother, woman, the greatest creation of God, to my opinion, woman, not you men, don't think so, woman. For through her womb comforts life. And through her body, man gets the greatest of joy. What a great creator he is, who have thought in his wisdom to create comfort between man and woman. So that think now of the woman, the ma, the mother, the earth, out of which the oceans exist. They go hand in hand, my beloved divine friends and families. Now we have our trees, which can absorb the earth's pollution. All the destruction that we put out can be absorbed, the carbon dioxide, all the toxic gases, all the destruction caused by manufacture and use of plastics, all the dirt we put into the atmosphere through our burnings and through the use of our vehicles and cars. We forget that we are destroying the mother we need the most, the earth, beloved, divine friends and families. And so, if we leave the forest alone, we can still do our industry and our business. Mankind has created enough of synthetic material that looks like wood to build your houses. So why do we have to use so much of wood? Why do some countries, some in the Far East in particular, known to want to decimate forests? We saw what Burama did in Guyana and what they did in so many other countries, including Malaysia, whose vegetation is virtually wiped out due to the overcutting of trees, my beloved divine friends and family. So if we keep wiping out our forests, we will keep destroying the habitat. The place all of life depends. There's an old Apache Indian, they call them Indian because of lack of education or wisdom on the part of Columbus and others, when they came to this part of the world, trying to find a trade route to the great Hindustan for food, diamond, gold, indigo, spices, civilization, philosophy, to help the dark Europe in those days. By going west, he hoped to end up east. And when he found these lands, He didn't find them. There were people living here. And he called them Indians. So we call them American Indians. But they are neither American, but they were originally great civilization. But what do you call them? Indians. Friends and family. The Apache nations. Great, what we call Amerindians or indigenous. They say, they have a philosophy. If you destroy the forest, so they say, if you destroy the trees or the forests, the animals will go. The animals will die. And when you destroy the forests and the animals go, then man will also be gone. For the earth needs the trees, and you leave the trees there. They will purify our air. They will give us our oxygen. They will absorb our carbon dioxide, which they use in photosynthesis to manufacture their food. Their roots will cause human beings to leave a minuscule of carbon footprint on the earth, so the earth may prosper and mankind may be glorious. This is the greatness, the magnificence of the forests and the jungles, ladies and gentlemen. So we are saying Exxon's flaring. For those of you who don't understand what is flaring is when you saw like in the movies, and it's happening in Guyana, but we can't see. When they drill for oil, they have a tower going up and they have a fire on top. That's flaring. Well, in Guyana, because we don't have control and we didn't know better, and we don't have huge fines like tens of millions of dollars in fines or billions of dollars to fine Exxon and other people, that Exxon has been burning this thing so much and dumping the poison waters into the oceans, ladies and gentlemen, poisoning our fish, the habitat of humanity, and therefore destroying like our forests. And if our forests can die and the oceans can die, then man can die. But why will these people do these kinds of things? Friends and families, ladies and gentlemen, for gluttonous wealth. For wealth, so they can eat more and drink more and have big properties and to satisfy their shareholders, at the destruction of a nation, at the destruction of people who has a nation, who are living as a nation or nations, and bankrupt them and destroy them and wipe them out, and even possibly take all their resources and then leave them destroyed and leave them in war, as we have seen in so many countries in Africa. Friends and families, our leaders need to be cautious. This is an appeal to you, Mr. President, to be firm with Exxon and all the oil companies. We need them, but they need us. And we must be firm in our decisions and our negotiations. Friends and families, we must be cautious. And now I will take a pause here, because I do have a problem sending out my messages when it's too long. So this will be like part 1. And now I will stop and I'll go to part 2, which stay tuned for the actual article written by Mikala Prince of Kaieteur News. Okay, friends and families, this is part 2. Exxon's flaring this year equivalent to the removal of 1.6 million acres of forest. Just 2 days ago, ExxonMobil announced that it has ceased its significant flaring of toxic natural gas at its Liza Phase 1 operations, its first commercial investment offshore of Guyana. I must tell you a part of the good news, but what is it really to us? Because we don't see anything really. We the people not getting any benefits as yet, maybe in time, but they said they are getting a full, from that one Liza Phase 1, ladies and gentlemen, 120,000 barrels per day. This is historical, because Trinidad and Tobago has over 100 wells, and they're barely producing 100,000 barrels per day. We have one well, Liza Phase 1, giving us 120,000 barrels of oil per day. Our people need some of this wealth. But I know under the Irfan Ali and the Dr. Barrett Jagdeo and Mark Phillips government, we will see the benefits in the form of education, roadways, networks, and a higher standard of living. Its first commercial investment offshore of Guyana. But is it really their investment? Because we have to pay them for everything. So it's our investment, but they get the money. How you like that? You give me your land for me to build a house, but I own the house and the land, and you can hardly get anything out of it. Technically, that's the best analogy I can find out of the lopsided deal bartered between the APNU AFC government and ExxonMobil, led by Trotman. And he said the president and the government of his time knew about it, so he was obeying orders. Back to the article. This development followed after Exxon, which prides itself on being an effective manager of emissions, failed to mitigate flaring at Liza 1 for 1 year. So for 1 year, Kaieteur News is saying that ExxonMobil, which says it's great in controlling emissions and so on, did not do their job properly at Liza Phase 1, which caused us to lose technically 1.6 million acres of forests because of what the flaring has done, not to the forest itself, but the pressure it has created in the atmosphere, which is equivalent to 1.6 million acres of forest, which pressures the reservoir. Our Amazon jungles and forests are like a reservoir. And if you overput stuff into the reservoir will overflow or it will bust. Ladies and gentlemen, it will bust. The trees in the Amazon jungle are like living creatures. Back to the article. Recent details from the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, now show that in that same year, ExxonMobil would have flared 12.4 billion, I repeat, 12.4 billion cubic feet of gas per day, equivalent to the removal of 1.6 million acres of forest. In simpler terms, the writer of Kaieteur News is saying, this means that Exxon flared toxic, poisonous, dangerous to health, natural gas that could have been offset by a forest the size of Region 2, Pomeroon, Suriname. You get that? Comparing what they did up there, it's like they would have wiped out a forest the size of the whole of Region 2. Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? The whole of Pomeroon, the whole of Region 2, and Suriname. Yesterday, acting director of the EPA, Sharifa Razak, in a report indicated that as of December 15th, the total volume of gas flared from the Liza 1 operation was 12.429 billion of standard cubic feet, BSCF, of gas. We have to be a very weak people, a very desperate people in our country to allow a foreign conglomerate who come here to invest, but we have to pay them back for every cent they have invested. And we get 2%. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting 2%. What gross negligence and stupidity of the negotiators, my beloved divine friends and families. I don't like to use those words. Those words are usually for Freddie Kissoon. But I got to salute the man for his bravado and his intellect and his wisdom. The man is damn right to say the things he say. So this is the raw, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking a bit. I'm reading. I'm feeling a bit thirsty. Let me pause here a second, and I'll be back. And so, friends, yes, I'm going to get a bit of water. So I just make sure I bring a little container of water, and I also had a banana. God bless Guyana. And a banana grown in my compound. So, back to the article. Exxon's flaring this year equivalent to the removal of 1.6 million acres of forest. Yesterday, okay, I gave you that already. Her report had also stated that an average of 8.310 million standard cubic feet per day of gas was flared during December. Oh my God. While adding that flaring was reduced to 0.661 million standard cubic feet per day by the reporting date. The total volume of gas injected as of 15 December 2020 at the Liza 1 operation was 12.895 BSCF with an injection volume of 126.416 million standard cubic feet per day of gas. Reached on 15 December 2020 itself, the EPA report stated. Esso Exploration and Petroleum Guyana Limited, EEPGL, which is Exxon, reported that it experienced safe and steady operations during the prior week with an average production of 105 kilobarrels per day and average flaring at 8.6 thousand cubic feet per day. The EPA indicated that the third stage of flash gas compressor completed its phase 3 test program. Anyhow, those technical things are not for you and I, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to keep going. The FCG was shut down on December 8th, the EPA noted, in preparation for restart on December 11th. Skip that. Importantly, Liza 1 is currently operating at pilot flare, which is said to provide the ignition source for combustion. So we're having a pilot flare, just a bit on top. Notably, at the end of October, the company had flared more than 16 million cubic feet of natural gas, thereby making Guyana one of the top 5 countries in the world for volume flared per year per capita. In September, Guyana had trailed Libya, Gabon, Oman, Qatar, and Iraq in total gas flared per capita. All of them together did not burn as much as us, they're saying, ladies and gentlemen. These big, giant oil countries. Guyana had trailed them, just all of them combined. Libya, Gabon, Oman, Qatar, and Iraq. All of them, all of them combined, those giants, we were just behind them, so to say, ladies and gentlemen. In total gas flare per capita, judging from statistics from the World Bank Global Gas Flaring Tracker report, however, the increased flaring in October caused Guyana to surpass Iraq. The company claimed Guyana surpassed Iraq, ladies and gentlemen, in flaring, which is damaging the environment, destroying our country, and helping to destroy the world for their profitability, for their gluttony. The company claimed it had to flare since its gas compression equipment was defective and needed to undergo repairs overseas. Well, they should have stopped, gotten proper equipment before they come into the country. And you know what is terrible? We have to pay for the repairs and replace of those equipment, according to the contract. So it's not their investment. Everything is our investment. It's like we hired them to find our things, and we should give them to find our oil and our gas, and we should give them the 2%, and we keep the rest. So the repairs reportedly proved difficult to undergo with haste, given limitations, the COVID-19 pandemic. So even everything is COVID-19. I have to find page 14, ladies and gentlemen. So everything is COVID-19, including them. Everything is delayed. Everything is COVID-19. And if things are bad in COVID-19, friends and families, it's supposed to be not more expensive, less, because they want some business due to the bad economy. Remember, this is in the raw. This is no editing. So I'm talking, I'm commenting, I am reading, I am recording, everything all together, my beloved divine friends and family. And so back to the article. Sorry about that. I just got a call that's coming in. It's in the raw. Safety guidelines have placed on companies. Even as Guyana pursues the exploitation of its resources, on the Starbrook block, conservationist Annette Arjun Martins had categorically stated that the authorities of the day must not neglect the nation's commitment to addressing climate change. I salute you, and Sister Annette Arjun Martins. I salute you that we must protect climate change in this country, for more floods are happening because of climate change and destruction of our environment. And if our forests are intact and there's no destruction, ladies and gentlemen, then we will be safe because the earth will fix itself. But climate change is being effected to the danger of humanity and the world because of gluttony of some nations and lies and cheats, because they're expert liars and in some cases thieves. The conservationist had said to this publication, environmental costs associated with flaring have a significant impact on our climate and is conveniently pushed aside since these costs are not monetized in our management of these sectors, like oil and gas. So they tend to push it aside because they're not paying us. Exxon Mobil, remember, Norway is paying us for our forests because of what they're doing due to their research and discovery and processing of oil. But they're a good company. They take care of the earth and even take care of us and other countries like us so that we can fix and help with climate change here, ladies and gentlemen. This untenable situation is exacerbated by failing to confer medium and longer term impacts in planning by thinking of the current impacts. She added, we may not feel the impacts of flaring now, but this is certainly affecting our climate for future generations. It is always our family, our children, the future that will suffer consequently. So we might not feel it right now, but we are, with flooding and excessive rains and longer rain and rain coming when it's not supposed to be coming and so on. Thinking only of the current is short-sighted to the detriment of our sustainable development of future generations. We have to think of our children and our children's children and the earth into the future. She speaks well and brilliant. Arjun Martins had also noted that Guyana has signed on to several international and bilateral agreements, including the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Guyana-Norway Bilateral Cooperation on Climate and Forests. The advocate for the protection of the environment said, it is critical that every man, woman, that is Annette Arjun, and child understand that the recent spike in flaring puts these in jeopardy as it is counter to those commitments according to the treaties that we have signed with Norway and others. We must be careful how we use plastics, ladies and gentlemen. We must try to avoid using too much of plastics. When we go to the market, we should walk with baskets and bags that could be reused. If we have to use plastics, then we must learn to reuse the plastic. It is time that Guyana put things in such a place that we can do away with the use of plastics. Think Guyana, think our children, think our future. Your friend, your brother, me, Haji Dr. Ocean Khan, in the raw. Arcades, Guyana Free Media. Farewell.